Cat in the Hat, which was released in 2003 based on the book of the same name, was received very poorly by critics of the time. As you can see from the Rotten Tomatoes score of only 9%, how wrong they were. Critics largely complained about its use of double entendre and chaotic nature.
Awkward. Yeah.
However, in this video, we've dared to deconstruct this goldmine of a text to showcase the brilliance that the public would deny it. Complemented by Roger Deakins' brilliant cinematography and Welch, who was the production designer on Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Wild Wild West and Men in Black, among others, in his directorial debut, we are treated to a cinematic experience unlike any other. A movie that defies its kid flick label so brilliantly, but was sadly Beau's last feature film project as director. And the man didn't work again until 2008's Space Chimps. So what went wrong? The critics that panned this film were clearly unaware of the brilliant socio-political commentary present within the subtext of the piece. The film takes place within a surreal interpretation of 1950s Americana. The town of Anvil is situated in an isolated valley complete with rolling green hills, a water tower, neat suburbs. A town where everyone drives identical Ford Focuses, and everyone dresses from the same pastel tone wardrobe. The town is controlled by Humberflube, a rich property tycoon who is the paternal power figure within the community. Humberflube is a clean freak, obsessed with hygiene. This obsession is reflected throughout the whole town and forms one of the main challenges for our characters to overcome. Humberflube is an authoritarian figure, which is demonstrated almost immediately with his firing of a new employee simply for daring to shake his hand.
Humberflube, I wanted to thank you.
Fired.
I beg your pardon?
Fired.
But I...
This man's life has just been completely destroyed.
This is Mr. Humberflube.
Humberflube's attempts to control the lives of his wage slaves goes even further. As it's revealed, he organises regular bi-monthly meet and greet parties where his employees must demonstrate their dedication to the cause or risk being Anvil itself is reminiscent of real-world model villages created by industrial paternalists such as Samuel Crompton, the Cadbury family, and others since the Industrial Revolution. These wealthy industrialists created complete communities from the ground up that were centered around their factories. In these communities, workers often enjoyed better living conditions than in many other areas, with things like education and utilities being provided for the workers. However, exploitation was still often the norm, with employers sometimes employing dirty tactics to siphon wages back into the company through local monopolies on food and other commodities. And workers were expected to return the favours given to them by working harder and being more loyal. Attempts at unionising were often met with harsh repression, and at the end usually came down to a my way or the highway mentality. In Anvil, the top priority is cleanliness and order. Humberflube's business relies on the provision of an idyllic vision of suburban living, and all citizens are expected to play their part. However, if you look deeper into this glossy and cheerful picture-perfect vision of life, you start to see the cracks. Humberflube is the architect and enforcer of a culture of fear that runs deeply through the heart of this supposedly perfect society. The fear is his own. This man clearly has some fucking problems. Humberflube's priorities are questionable to say the least. So much attention is paid to the surface level that he overlooks some major things such as education.
Mr. Humberflube, I have to get home to my kids.
Your children.
No education is provided in Anvil. No normal schools are ever mentioned, and children are simply expected to stay at home, leaving single mother Joan to have to rely on babysitters. The film follows Joan and her two children, Sally and Conrad, and it is this family that must struggle to exist against this oppressive backdrop. Conrad, from the beginning, is cast in opposition to the prevailing norm of cleanliness and order of Anvil. His name, Conrad, is almost comrade. His colours are orange and brown against the prevailing pastel pink and green. He embodies feral animal imagery through his clothing and behaviour, and his actions are vulgar and destructive. Conrad is a born rebel, non-conformist, and we immediately identify with his struggle, as it is a refreshing change to the established order. However, At this point in the film, his antics are misplaced and self-defeating. Sally is his polar opposite at this point, as she over-identifies with the status quo. She is a boring control freak with a strictly ordered lifestyle and sucks up to authority figures. Larry Quinn, played by Alec Baldwin, is the family's neighbour who attempts to position himself as the father figure in their household. He presents himself as a model citizen, however this is just a ruse. In reality, is a waste man who just wants to shag your mum. The only one to see through this facade at first is Conrad, and in response, Larry's goal is to persuade Joan to send him to Colonel Wilhelm's military academy. Larry here represents the dark underbelly of this supposedly utopian society, existing as a parasite interested only furthering his own agenda. Larry is a leech whose existence further exposes the central conflict between Anvil society values and human nature, which is inherently dirty, ugly, and self-absorbed. By hiding his true nature beneath a veneer of respectability, he has been able to smuggle himself into this perfect community and feed off it. He is manipulative, greasy, and the antagonist of the film. The mother, Joan, a hollow shell of a person, is too busy to see through Larry's fake persona. The pressures of life as a single mother in Anvil, with a demanding job, have left her unable to think for herself. Larry exploits this weakness, and it is only the children who eventually expose him. Conrad's actions, possibly cries for attention,
I wish I had a different mom.
only compound her problems,
Well, sometimes I wish the same thing.
and as a result she lashes out at him, causing an emotional rift that persists until the end of the film. The surreal nature of the film is finally cemented with the introduction of Mrs. Kwan, the babysitter. Her viewing of the chaos of the Taiwanese parliament reveals a strange external world which is completely alien.
Taiwanese parliament.
You tell them, Guai Zhang. No more big government. Rip his heart out.
She is a difficult character to analyse as she is one of the most bizarre, but her existence is necessitated by Anvil's lack of schools, and it is in her sleeping presence that the cat is able to come into existence. I hope this gives you a taste of the goldmine of symbolism and food for thought present throughout this film. All this at only 15 minutes of screen time. The eponymous cat, played by Mike Myers, has not even been mentioned, but he's a whole can of worms unto himself. Clearly the critics completely misunderstood this film, but why? Stick around and stay tuned for more analysis coming soon on both what led critics to reject this movie, as well as exploration into Mike Myers' cat. This has been the Thinking Man's Thinking Man, I think, so you don't have to. Signing off.